In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome once again, everybody. It's Common Ground with John Theillon. That's me. Yeah, I'm your host, the coach of communication, your captain of collaboration, and of that common ground that we're all going after in one way or another. I'm also, of course, the mayor of Reeltown. That just means, once again, for all of you out in the back, you may not still be familiar with it. Yeah, you way out there. You, sir, sit down. Sit down. Thank you. It just means that I always want to keep things as right down the line as possible, as upfront, as real as can be. No sugarcoating intended here. If it happens, it's just one of those things that it's by extension. Okay. Howard Cosell, the late Howard Cosell, used to say, "Howard Cosell, tell it like it is." So that's what we're doing here. It's what it's all about. Simple as that. Some people, they don't like that. They don't dig it. They can't wrap their minds around it, and it doesn't go over well. Not an easy pill for those kind of folks to swallow. They can't, they don't, they won't. They just don't want to live in Reeltown or be all about the Reeltown way. And that's okay. It's okay. They'll smarten up, some of them anyway, and come with the others who crave it, like you, like me. Okay. Coming to you today, once again, from the East Brunswick Command Center, East Brunswick, New Jersey, Hamilton Radio North, if you will. I'm right by US Route 1, New Jersey State Route 18, and the New Jersey Turnpike, a mere quarter mile, if that, away. So I'm in the thick of it, man. Not for long. Just an important announcement. Announcements. This may be the last Common Ground with John Theillon for a little while. I'm going to go on hiatus here. I'm beginning to transition my place of residence and where I butter my bread along with Hamilton Radio too. I'm going to be moving back out to my former home, going to be my current home again in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. And I'm going to be working out of Lock Haven, Pennsylvania, about an hour to the west of Bloomsburg, home of Lock Haven University, home of the Piper Airport there. For a long time, it was the home of a great big international paper manufacturer. They still do paper out there, but it's not international paper, I don't believe, and it's not quite as big as it used to be. Lock Haven had some lean years through the 80s, and well, you know what? Things are coming up a whole lot more rosy than they had been. So it's needless to say, I'm going to be busy. I have a lot to do. I just came back from the recycling center, going through 53 years worth of residency here at the family homestead. And well, yeah, a transition is underway starting on Saturday. So I'll see you around. We may do a Doc G and John T presents every now and again, Doc G and myself. Jerry Petito and I may do a JT and the Jersey Jewel every once in a while. And I may be coming back at you before too long with Common Ground with John Theillon. But for right now, this is going to be the pseudo swan song. Just for a while. It's not goodbye. We'll catch you soon. That's how it's going to be. So at any rate, don't forget about us, though, here at Hamilton Radio. It's the flagship station for so many things, including Common Ground with John Theillon, and, of course, the exceptional broadcast network, the ERBN. It's the best in music. I was listening earlier today, and just as a listener, not a participant, but I am both. It's just good music. It's just good stuff. We had a great show last night with our friend Sue Bloom, who does a great independent artist show. We had a great group, Whiskey Grin, on an interview. I should say, she had a great group. Interviewed them for an hour. So independent artists, indie groups, they're big with Hamilton Radio. They should be big with you because, man, there's some good tunes. And couple that with all the greats, all the stuff that we know from the 50s, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even today. It's where all the cool kids go to listen. It really is. And it's where everybody who needs that music fix turns in and turns on to. Audio projects too. What a great resource we are, from audio books to video for audio for video of all kinds, short form, long form, sales related, safety related, HR related, commercials, you know. Hey, you ever thought about having your own radio station, running your own radio station? We can get you happily involved with that too. We've got the gizmos, we've got the ability. You have the idea. You'll provide the sizzle. You can make some money off of this too. And I'm not just talking, you know, a couple of bucks here, a couple of bucks there, unless that's what you want. You can get out there and, you know, treat it like you own it, because you will. You're an online radio station. You can get advertising dollars, marketing dollars, promotional dollars. And you want to talk about a fun side hustle that may turn into your main gig? You never know. Get a hold of us, whether it's one thing or another. Get a hold of us, send an email with your questions, your thoughts, your can I do this, your what about that. Send an email, admin@hamiltonradio.net. That's the email address. It'll get it done. It'll get you in touch with the straws that stir the drink. It'll put you involved with the allies. It'll help win the war. Well, maybe not that, but you know what I'm saying. Admin@hamiltonradio.com. That's the email you want to send, the email address you want to send your thoughts, your interests, your questions to. One more time, admin@hamiltonradio.net, admin@hamiltonradio.net. So learn it, know it, live it. I want to talk to you today. Oh, I tell you what, this is a good one. I have to say, this is a then versus now. Now versus then. Now, of course, as I've always said, I put together my Common Ground with John Theillon programs here, my monologues, my op-eds, my topics. I put these together for you based upon largely things I've seen, stuff I've done, experiences I've had. Plus, I also get information or a kickstart from other people all over. It could be from business, could be from entertainment, could be politics or religion. Yeah, there are those two words again. So what? It all counts. Any type of folks, any type of people, any type of experience, or any type of stuff that I may have gotten involved with or seen, you know, and witnessed and so forth through the years. Again, now versus then is what I want to talk about rather today. Is it better now versus how it was then? Is it worse now than how it was then? I have to tell you, that's subjective. Just like music, just like entertainment, just like theater, just like, you know, tasting, I don't know, automobiles or food. You know what? You might like Italian cuisine. Somebody else may, that's not their favorite. You know, you might like sushi. I myself, not a fan. It's all subjective. You know, you might like country, you know, some hot country. Jason Aldean, man, you know, he's the best. Maybe that guy over there, he couldn't give country 3 seconds. You know, I understand. It's all subjective. What we do know about now versus then versus now, is that it's different. It is different. Okay. So with all of that in mind, and whatever way here, and all the time, I trust that you're going to get it about what we're touching on today. To reiterate, what I do, folks, simply put, is I give out information. I provide information, thought provokers, so to speak, to you. Again, it's you get it via my take, experiences, stance, philosophies, the words. That's the long and the short of it. Okay, use it how you will. Use it how you want. Take what you can use. Take what you need. Leave the rest. Okay, it's as simple as that. As always, it's about the message, the words, which I have to tell you, I typically select for a good reason. Okay, the thoughts, the take, the philosophies, the whole thing. And with that, it's also about recognizing, if not putting into action, our collective and collaborative abilities that each of us have. Once again, these are the things that truly can be absorbed and be a part then of reaching that common ground that we're all after in our own way. Now, here we go. Now versus then. Here we have it. Okay, there's always been that comparison of now versus then. Always. You know, for what was versus what is. Okay, it'll change. It does change. And there's nothing wrong with any of it per se, unless one way, one thing, or one time is construed as better or worse. And once again, that's entirely subjective. However, I have to say that there are instances where there can be a palpable black and white difference that's really undeniable. I mean, it's just right there. You know, there's the wall. Okay, there's the writing. There's the writing. Okay, what you smell that? Yeah, that's the coffee brewing. Okay, it's right there. So let's talk about a few things. From the whimsical and fun to stuff that's possibly quite impactful. Cars, vehicles. Everybody loves their cars, okay? They have to have their car. You have to have the car. I have to have a car to get around, okay? There's no downtown East Brunswick, New Jersey, by the way, with the square and stores and the fountain and the courthouse. There is none of that. Now, there are stores. There are, I guess, fountains. I can't remember one off the top of my head, to be truthful. I think in front of the municipal complex, they put a fountain gizmo in the pond. So there you go. There is, the town municipal complex, but they're not in a downtown. There is no downtown East Brunswick. Okay, so I've got to have a car to get around and get things done. In my case, it's a pickup. Okay, it's a 2015 Dodge Ram Eco Diesel Laramie Longhorn pickup. Love the truck, I really do. Now, versus then. Okay, first of all, let's talk about then, still now, and then now, still now, okay? You'll see what I mean in a second. Automobiles, since, I don't know, for 120, 125 years, give or take, they have been primarily, if not almost exclusively until recently, and a little bit very early on, traditional with an internal combustion engine run on either gasoline or diesel fuel. Okay, mine again is a diesel. All right, so there you go. I mean, back then, whether it was the Model A, the Model T. I mean, listen, the Model T was great. I saw a piece on TV about the Model T, and boy, there's so much variation. You could have it in any color you wanted, just as long as it was black. Ah, gotcha. But you probably knew that. But from the Model T to the Model A, from brands that are no longer around, like Studebaker, Auburn, Cord is another one, Maxwell, LaSalle, they're all gone. Packard, no more, but they all have, whether it's one of them or a Buick, an Oldsmobile, a Pontiac, a Dodge, a Plymouth, a Chrysler, a Ford, a Lincoln, a Mercury. For so long, it was almost exclusively, if not exclusively, internal combustion engine then, and still now. Now, however, re-enter, because electric vehicles are not a new thing. They're just new technology of an idea from 100 or so years ago. There were electric vehicles back in the early days of automobiles, along with steam-powered vehicles, but enough about that. Let's go toward the one that's the big bell ringer now, the electric vehicles, the EVs, okay? They're getting so much attention, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whether it's someplace in between. Again, that's subjective too. I'm not a huge fan, but you know what? That's a topic for another time. Okay, I'm not a fan. I'm just not a bell ringing, flag waving, raving fan, I guess is the way to put it. I get it. Believe me, I do. Okay. I have stock in an automobile company. It's a U.S. automobile company, and I did so based upon an electric vehicle that got a lot of attention about 2 or 3 years ago. So there is that. I understand business and opportunities, but then is the internal combustion engine. It's a wonderful, wonderful contraption. Now is the electric vehicle. You know what? There's a lot to be said for that too. But it's still underway. It's still unfolding. It's still, nothing is perfect, but it's still being worked on, buffed and polished. But so you've got then, you've got now. What do you like? Answer to yourself. How about another topic? Law enforcement. How about that? Then versus now. My grandfather was a police officer. He's a policeman on a small town in northeastern PA called Berwick, Pennsylvania, home of the Bulldogs. So I think they were two-time USA Today high school football national champions. for whatever that was work back in the 80s or 90s. At any rate, good stuff, nice town. It's seen its ups and downs, and right now it's kind of someplace in the middle, I would say. But back from about the 30s and 40s and 50s, my grandfather was a police sergeant in Berwick, Pennsylvania, and he was no nonsense. Mother, when she was a teenager, she worked uptown at the Newberries. And well, one night she was walking home, probably about a mile of a walk till you went down Front Street and then took the left down Hughes Street. She was walking home, and this dude was following her. I mean, she knew it. It was plain as the nose on her face. She got to where she had to make the left off of Front Street down to Hughes Street. And evidently, the story goes that the street lights were either very dim or they weren't working. So she quick ducked into a little five and dime or a little soda shop right there in the Point and made a phone call up to the police station saying, "Hey, could you let my father know that I need to walk down Hughes Street, and there's this guy who's been walking and tailing me since, well, basically since uptown I got out of Newberry's at work." Well, they got a hold of my grandfather, Hurley Stout Sr. He comes pulling up, and evidently Mother said, "Yeah, he's hanging around 2 doors down from where I am at the sweet shop here in the alcove of an apartment, by a business, a door where you would go upstairs to the apartment." Evidently, my grandfather and his partner pulled up in front of this place. He got out, grabbed this guy by his coat, lifted him up, boom, and basically said, "If I hear anything like you following, tailing, creeping around some young 16-year-old high school girl ever again, you and I are going to go around. Am I being fairly clear?" And evidently the guy's eyes got real big. "Yes, sir." Okay. Could you imagine that happening today? Could you imagine? Police brutality. I have rights. Yeah, that was then. Now, you have all kinds of stuff going on around. It just, like I just said, people will cry, police brutality. They whip out a smartphone and start, videoing. Who the hell knows what they're videoing, but they have to feel like they're doing something, I tell you what, and this is a tough one. This week we had 2 days ago, we had another school shooting. Not fun, not good. And they found out who it was, and that whole story has unfolded. But the thing of it is, about a year ago, we had one down in Uvalde, Texas. That was a sheer, unadulterated Mongolian cluster, you know what. It was just nothing but a goat, chicken, and raccoon rodeo all rolled up into one. Versus on Monday, they took care of it toot sweet. 6 minutes from the time that the police pulled up, 3 minutes from the time that they entered the building, the thing was done. Versus going on for hours and hours and hours and hours like it did down in Uvalde, Texas last year. I understand that there are different ways, there are different trainings, there are different abilities, but you know what? We didn't have all of this back then. We didn't have these school shootings, quote unquote, then. We didn't. More about that kind of thing in just a minute. We had knuckleheads. There's always been knuckleheads, okay? From the time of going back to Cain and Abel, there's always been the knucklehead. But then years ago, back then, you had people like my grandfather who just would scare the living crap out of somebody, kind of, but not really throw them, not a beating, but just a physical, intimidational effort, I guess you could say. And then that would almost always be that, except for the one knucklehead who would push it. Then you had to deal with him, and away he would go. So you had then versus now. Different, very different. How about government and related things? Yeah, we're going to go there, okay? Then let's go back to I know, it was the 1930s. How about the WPA, which stands for the Work Progress Administration? That was an American agency that employed millions of our people, of the U.S. citizens, folks looking for work when work was, it was a lot more difficult than ever before to find. It was the 30s. It was the Depression. People were looking for jobs. And the WPA, they did public works projects such as the construction of public buildings, facilities, roads. Um, Franklin Delano Roosevelt set that up back in early May of 1935, back then. Matter of fact, I know of a high school football stadium. They just within the last, I'm going to say 10, maybe 15 years or so, eliminated it. But there was an old high school football stadium out in Danville, Pennsylvania, called F.Q. Hartman Stadium. And that was a project that was built via the WPA, the Works Progress Administration. Okay, it's a marvelous old stadium, just really good looking. But as with everything, it got long in the tooth. The maintenance was not what it could have been or should have been. Perhaps nobody's fault. It just we'll deal with it later. Well, later became we've got a problem. So, but what a wonderful facility for so many years, from the 30s, so the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So for 60 to 70, almost 70 years, that place was a wonderful place. The WPA. People would say, well, FDR, he was the beginning of all this nonsense, whatever that means. Well, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Wasn't alive then. But what I do know is that there were people back then who needed work, who were looking for jobs. And that was something that was an impetus to help our people to get jobs. Let's talk about now. Since February of last year, and as of, I'm going to say February 21st of this year, the current administration and the Congress have appointed us, I should say, appropriated about a minimum of $112 billion. Huh, wow. How about that? Yeah, for assistance in the Ukraine. Okay, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying, what about folks home? What about something like, not exactly like, but what about something akin to the WPA? Okay, but this assistance, okay, it includes humanitarian, I should say, humanitarian, financial, and military support. But wait a minute, hold on. Where's the funding for that alleged so-called, what were they going to call? Oh yeah, Build Back Better initiatives. Right. Let me think it. Oh yeah, never mind. Nothing's been built back really, and due to that, not a whole lot is really better. Got it. Never mind. Got it. So there's that. Now let's go back to school. Okay, safety at school. I want to speak from a little experience. I just drove by my old elementary school about an hour ago. Back then, and this would then being about 50 years ago, in the early to mid 70s, teachers, and even up to, again, what I know, I went to the Lawrence Brook School, elementary school in East Brunswick, New Jersey, from the fall of 1969 until June of 1976. So that's the time frame I'm talking about. So about 50 years. Back then, you had teachers' aides. She was Mrs. Janowski, Mrs. Zinovich, Mrs. Krivak. Wow. Holy mind synapse, Batman. You had the teachers themselves. You had the vice principal, the guidance counselor. Sometimes it was one or the other. And you had the principal who basically, between the teachers' aides, the teachers, the vice principal / guidance counselor, and the principals, they're the folks who kept the peace. They really were. That's all that we needed, I have to tell you. So, back when, say, Rick Covell and Kenny Masiello would start pushing and shoving and, maybe a fist or two would fly in 5th or 6th grade, I guess, how old would you be, 10, 11, 12 years old at that point? All that, say, Mr. Morosco, one of the teachers, would have had to do was yell, Covell, Masiello, after school. And done. All done. All done. No more. Now, as of last year, as of 2022, let's just go through some numbers here. There are 115,576 schools across the United States. This includes all the K-12 public and private schools, adult education, career and technical schools, Again, public and private schools, which would I would assume be charter as well. Now, with the current U.S. population of about 333 million people, that equates to one school for every 2,881 folks. That's it. Every 2,881 people, there's a school. Resource officers are more of a common sight now than ever, especially in public schools. So whether it's in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, where I'm going, and I know this because I've seen the resource officer there when my kids went there, whether it's Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, or New Brunswick, New Jersey, home of the zebras, by the way, and I've seen the police cars parked out front of New Brunswick High School, so I know that happens at the New Brunswick High School. How about noticing that these are people who are in place, okay? We didn't have resource officers, pardon me, at Lawrenceburg School, Churchill Junior High School, Dag Hammarskjöld Junior High School on the other side of East Brunswick, and certainly not at East Brunswick, also known as Holly Rock High. We didn't have resource officers there. We did not. We did not. I didn't go to the junior high school and the high school here in town. I went to a private school about a half an hour drive away, about 12, 15 miles away. We didn't have resource officers there too. We had some badasses in that place every once in a while as well, okay, student-wise. But they got dealt with. Resource officers, again, more common than ever, from one place to another. How about this? And I'm thinking of this shooting on Monday once again. How about this? Instead of pallet loads of cash being flown to Iran, or again, that $112 billion, to other countries, how about we use that money right here, like we used to then, here at home? And in the process, let those other countries who are either no friends of ours, Iran, or, iffy at best, opportunistic, certainly, let them take care of their own situations by far and large, or let them go with the other people in their region who sympathize and who, collaborate with them. It's okay. Last I checked, there are not other countries contributing to our budget deficits or our national debt or anything else that we need. No, we feel like we've got to be the united way for the world. No. It's enough, okay? So what this would do, freeing up this money for here, would be to get at least let's just say two more additional resource officers for every school in the country. And guess what? There would be heaps of cash left over for other things, okay? But I'm talking at least two or two more. Again, in the Covenant School in Nashville on Monday, it was a church-based school. There were no resource officers, okay? There just weren't. So I'm talking public schools, private schools, church-based, like, the Covenant School in Nashville, charter schools, whatever school, elementary school, junior high school, middle school, intermediate school, whatever kind of school, doesn't matter. As a national initiative, you could do it. You could. Or you could send these national funds to the states or the local governments or both. And here's what you do. Again, I'm spitballing here. You pay these new two resource officers, you pay them $75,000 a year. Okay, just for an example. So you figure two or two more officers per school. That's $150,000 a year or a year more per school, times 115,576 schools. That equates to 17,336,400,000. That's a big wad of cash. It's a lot. But dig this. This is where numbers don't lie. Using the 112 billion, again with a B, worth of funds that have been, say, allocated to the Ukraine or someplace else, with that 17,336,400,000 allocated to the resource officers, two per school, okay, to 115,000 plus schools, there would still be, get this, 110 billion $226,360,000 left over. Or if you wanted to look at it this way, an average, because some would need more and some would get more and some would need less and some would get less, an average of 2.2 billion, again with a B, billion per state. Use that money for actually needed initiatives and the accompanying employment that would go with these initiatives. Again, not completely unlike the WPA of the mid-30s. Okay? I'm talking roads in the United States, highways, bridges, tunnels, railroads, whether it's freight railroads, especially with all this nonsense with this stupid crap derailments. Again, these railroads have been cutting staff for Lord himself only knows what reason. Oh, that's right. Keep it in the black. That's the reason. Almost forgot. So whether it's freight railroads or passenger railroads, or how about this, the high-speed passenger railroads. Let me tell you something that maybe you don't know. Where there are vestiges of high-speed rail services, i.e. the Northeast Corridor from Boston to DC, people use them and they work, okay? And they make money. Wow, okay? So you could use it for those things. You could use it for rural initiatives, suburban initiatives, urban initiatives, you know, actual infrastructure items. Yeah, I know, you know. Yes, Mr. Nucastrati, your question, your statement. Well, wouldn't that money be going through really quickly? Yes, Mr. Nucastrati, it may be or it may not be. It's all how you do it. Cut the red tape to an absolute minimum, if not entirely. Stop the nonsense. We know how to do it. Do the right damn thing. Okay? So it's here's the thing. Even if it does get gotten through quickly, all right? It's just time to smarten up, folks. Use the finances that we allocate more wisely for a change. Get back to then, taking care of our stuff, increasing and improving our things, you know, making our lives better, more efficient, okay? To promote safety for teachers and students and those who work as staff at schools. This is a good idea, period. Is it perfect? No. Would it probably need some buffing and polishing and tweaking and editing? I would think, but don't sweat that right now. It's about the idea, the concept, to promote the safety, first and foremost, safety for teachers and students and staff members of the schools. From the secretary at the front office to the lunch ladies in the cafeteria to the students who have been there for a minute or who have been there for several years to the teachers who have tenure to the teacher who just started their career. Safety first, safety first, safety first, okay? And then you can help to fix, repair, upgrade, or upgrade the USA's inner workings, the underpinnings that make things go. To put our things, to keep our things, our people, our requirements and needs at the top of the pile, at the top of the to-do lists. You know, we did these things. We've done these things then. We simply need to go back about, what, 87 years to 1935. We've been there and done it. We know how to do it. Okay? It's imperative that we do so again. Not just then, but now. Okay? Here's another way. Again, then versus now. Then versus now. Honoring God, honoring our Creator. Okay? Then, from the founding fathers to what, 90 years later with the North and South, the Civil War, to the World Wars, Korea, even Vietnam, there was always a very, very palpable undercurrent of the lion's share of us here in the United States acknowledging God. Yes, there's always been that contingent, you know, of whatever you want to call it, who don't, okay? Whether it's they don't get it, they don't want to get it, they don't believe it, they were brought up that way, or a combination of all of that plus whatever the heck else. It's okay. It's okay. do you, but know that there are outcomes for doing you, one way or the other. Let me tell you, when I was a very little kid, I was in kindergarten. I was 5 years old. And in school, we all heard and got taught the happy little stories about the holidays, for example, like Hanukkah and Christmas and so forth. Okay. Again, in school, Lawrence Brook, East Brunswick's public school, elementary school, 1.8 miles that way up the street. Okay. And with the stories and with the little tales and so forth, we also learned the fun little songs too, from Jingle Bells, to Dreidel, Dreidel, Dreidel. I loved it. I was a kid. It was the quintessence of childlike wonderment. That was my life. That's all I knew because again, I was 5. Okay? Now, we learned it, all of it. I celebrate then and now. I celebrate Christmas. But I have to tell you, man, it was neat to know about Hanukkah. That was 1969. And that point was about the beginning of the end of all of that. One of my little classmates, her name was Ellen Spiro. Okay, I haven't seen her in years, probably since the mid-70s. Okay, her father came in, Dr. Spiro, with his hair on fire about, he didn't like that, quote unquote, his Hanukkah menorah out front of the school, the big display like they would put out in front of buildings and schools. He didn't care for the fact that the Christmas tree was right next to his Hanukkah menorah. Well, his, because that's what he celebrates. Okay. So he came in and he demanded to see Dr. Burnett, the principal. Dr. Burnett heard him. And he ripped and tore and carried on about this whole Hanukkah menorah Christmas tree business. Dr. Burnett said, Dr. Spiro, I've got it. I understand. Got it. The Christmas tree will come down. Now, what happened is, yes, the Christmas tree did come down. They got Mr. Perrott, the custodian, to go outside and take the Christmas tree down. In the next breath, he said, and while you're at it, Albert, because that was his name, Albert Perrott. Wow, why did I just remember that? While you're out there, Albert, also take down the Hanukkah menorah. Well, old Spiro came by the next day when both of them were gone, and you think his hair was on fire that first time? It was Mount Vesuvius. Mount Sinai, basically. There you go. Better yet. And he's like, what the heck's going on? You said you were taking the Christmas tree down. Listen, what's good for the goose, good for the gander, Dr. Spiro. I'm not going to keep one up and not have the other. So guess what? If you're going to make a big to-do about this and, carry on like the way you did, they're both coming down. Have a nice day. That's, at least in my world, that's when it started. Okay? But at least back then, we still had the stories. We still had the songs. It was happy. It was good. Now, no stories, no songs, no nothing about a specific holiday in school, public school specifically, because, well, you'll likely be seen as excluding someone if you talk about or sing about a particular holiday and they either don't celebrate that holiday or don't have the wherewithal to celebrate with a big meal, family visits, presents, lights, music, and whatnot. Okay, Mr. Castrati, please sit down. Message delivered, and do shut up. Thank you. This just in. All types of people, willing and or able to celebrate or not, have been around since the beginning of celebrating. It's true. It's true. Instead, though, here's what we have. It's all about the winter season, or the beginning, the winter solstice, or some other fakakta made-up pseudo-holiday that's been created since the mid-'60s, late '60s, '70s, because somebody got offended by something that may or may not have been truly had any scintilla of offensiveness about it, but they needed to grind an axe. So guess what? We're not celebrating Hanukkah, Christmas, or any of that nonsense. We're going to celebrate something else, or we're going to talk about the beginning of the winter or the winter solstice or whatever the hell else. Thanks for the gumball, Popeye. Nerds to you. Okay? Here's the thing. Whatever it is you do, whatever it is you celebrate, whatever it is you believe in, whatever it is that's your thing, I don't care if it's December or June, celebrate it. Celebrate it. Do it effusively. That means a lot for those of you from Grover, Pennsylvania. If it's what you like, do that. Do that. If not, okay then. Do that. Whatever that may be. Do your thing. Don't let anybody else put a finger in your face and tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing, what you should or shouldn't be celebrating, or how and when and with whom you ought to be doing it or celebrating it. We've gotten too used to people saying, you need to, okay, again, I don't care who it is, from when I walk in the door at night to, at my work or in the neighborhood or where. The minute I hear those words put to me like that, you need to, you lost me. I'm done. Check, please. I'm out. So celebrate what you celebrate. Over the top. Have fun. Do good things with that. Here we go. Here we go. The political and or the societal via the media. Number 6. Being careful, being politically correct versus being real, telling it like it is. Okay? Back then, you had Walter Cronkite, David Brinkley, Frank Reynolds, okay, on the CBS, NBC, ABC evening news, or whatever they called it, okay? Walter Cronkite, he was the most iconic, to me, of the three. And he did it for many, many years, up until about February of 1981 when he retired. He would always read the news, again, because there was a teleprompter, even back then. He would read/report the news. He'd throw it to the reporter, whether it was one person or another, whether it was Ralph Penza talking about this or Dan Rather talking about that. He would throw it to the reporter, but come back and just recite the info. Again, he's doing what I'm doing, he did. Okay, it's providing information. Do with it what you will. Take what you can use, take what you want, leave the rest. That was Walter Cronkite's thing too. Go figure. Wow. Science. Okay? And he'd always end the evening newscast with, the phrase, and that's the way it is. I'm Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night. That's it. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Cronkite. Good. There were no agendas. There were no issues. There was no undercurrent. There were no ulterior motives. Pardon me. Up until, not up until, I should say, not at all. Nothing at all. Up until February of 81. All those years, we pretty much got the straight poop, the straight skinny, right down the line. It was Real Town 101, and they didn't even realize it, about gas rationing in 1973 and again in 1979. How the Vietnam War was going and what was going on. The Iran hostage crisis. We were updated on that for 444 days. Every day, every night, every time, all the time. The economy, whether it was good or weak, whether there was high inflation or not, whether there were high interest rates or not. Boy, I can remember in the late 70s when my father was in local banking, I'm 15 years old, 14, 15, 16 years old, and he would say, how was your day, Dad? Because he would drive me home from school most of the time. Oh, the interest rates went up again. The interest rate to buy a home for a mortgage is about 20%. I'm so glad that we didn't, we don't need to buy a house now, that we did so 8, 9, 10, 11 years ago. I'm like, wow. Even as a high school kid, I knew that was not good. Okay, but we got the straight skinny from Walter Cronkite, David Brinkley, or Frank Reynolds on the evening news. Now, what do we get? We get everything's fine. Everything's good. Everything's okay. I'm sorry. What? Really? Really? There's no perfection, folks. Stop telling me things are perfect because they are not. Even in the good times, they're not. Okay? But you know what? Everything's fine. Everything's okay. Everything's good. Or you get a lib zing, I call him, at the end of a news story. Bill Ritter on Channel 7 Eyewitness News, WABC TV New York is famous for it. You know, somebody will say something about, I don't know, pick a topic, the people being put in the hotels in New York City that have come up from the border crossing in Texas, you know, and all of a sudden the hotel owners are tired of being pushed around and saying, listen, we can't have this. We've done this now for 2 years. We can't have this anymore. And then at the end of the report about the hotel owners saying enough already, the anchor, again, Bill Ritter, will say, well, it seems to me that there's high time that there should be something done about this sort of thing, whether they like it or not. Bill, we are not looking to you for your opinion. Report and read the news. If I want an opinion, I'll open up the paper to the op-ed page. Stop it. But this is what we get. David Muir and ABC World News Tonight. Same kind of business. Seen that guy go on like that too. Okay? Report it. Don't opine about it. You know, everything's okay. Everything's okay. Really? Despite the current conditions, inflation being as high as it's been since, I don't know, 1980 or so, energy prices still being about twice, if not more, what they should be at the pump. Okay? Please, I had a buddy of mine just talking and just happy as a clam about $2.98 gasoline for regular. $2.98? Let me remind you people, on about January 4th or 5th of 2021, regular gas was about $1.65. Still too high to me, but lots more reasonable. $1.65, maybe $1.70 something for a gallon of regular gas. And he's, woohoo, about $2.98. Unbelievable. And this is just, I don't know, a day or two ago. Okay, but everything's okay. Everything's okay. Don't forget, folks, everything's okay, you know? Unemployment. Well, you know, we've got the lowest unemployment numbers since, the beginning of recorded unemployment numbers. Wrong answer, Hans, as John McClane, Mr. Officer John McClane from the New York City Police Department would say. Wrong, sir. False. Yes. Those are the U3 numbers. Those are the U3 numbers, the people who report as unemployed or not. How about the U6 numbers, which is everyone, people who are working versus people who are out of work, on unemployment, have fallen off of unemployment, still seeking work, or have used, again, fallen off of their unemployment, having used it all, and have just basically said, you know what, I'm out. That's the real numbers right there. And let me tell you what, I should say, those are the real numbers right there. And let me tell you something that you probably would already surmise. Those numbers stink on ice. Trust me when I tell you, okay? And again, back to help abroad versus help here. Oh yeah, send a pallet of money over to the Middle East someplace. Send all kinds of stuff. You know what? Here, rather than bringing back the millions and millions and millions, if not billions of dollars worth of military supplies, from guns and ammunition to portable facilities to, I don't know, Black Hawk helicopters, rather than bringing them all back home where they belong, we'll just leave them over there in Afghanistan, and whatever, we'll buy new. It's like somebody saying, I'm getting rid of my car. I'm going to leave it in the parking lot down at the ShopRite because, I don't know, it needs new tires or it needs an oil change. I'm done with it. It's the same kind of thing. This is what we get now versus then. I guarantee you then, whether it was, oh, I don't know, Tricky Dick, Ronaldus Magnus, even Donaldus Maximus a few years ago, we'd have brought all that stuff home and made good with it somehow. No, everything's fine. Everything's okay. Okay. And again, help abroad versus help here. Really? So you're going to ship all that money to who knows where? For who knows what specific reason? Well, they say it's for humanitarian and militaristic and defenses and so forth and so forth. Oh, okay, that's what's said. I hope so, because if it's not, we could have used that here about, oh, I don't know, a month ago over in a little area called East Palestine, Ohio, to clean up a mishap, once again, a railroad derailment because of egregiously underfunded by the railroad companies, which it hurts me because I love them, but they're not always good. I love a railroad. You know me, Mr. Train. We could have used those funds to help maintain the railroads. Okay, the FRA can step in, Federal Railroad Administration, once again, from those of you who can grow for Pennsylvania. The FRA can step in and say, we've got this. Just like the FCC can with communications, the FAA can with aeronautics and air travel, the FRA can step in and say, Union Pacific, Norfolk Southern, CSX, Kansas City Southern, whomever else, Burlington Northern, Santa Fe, this is how it's going to go. But the funds aren't there. Thanks again for the gumball, Popeye. Thanks again. And here's another one. Okay, well, let me just, put a bow on this one. So enough with the acquiescing. Spinelessness is no way to go through life, people. Okay, not that you are, but just as a leadership contingent. How has it gotten this way? Rhetorical question, answer it on your own. There will not be a quiz. Here's one more. Not allowing others to do you. Saying no to control, especially when it's got no business being there. Back then, whenever then was, then we all got told from time to time, that we started getting it from the time we began to understand things, started getting it. We got told to do the right thing. And we were told what that truly means. And to go with your gut instinct, with the knowledge of what's right, what's wrong. You know right from if I had a nickel for every time I heard that when I would do something stupid. I wasn't a bad kid, but I was a kid. Kids can be dopey, and I could be as dopey as the rest of them. Probably still can if I really thought about it. If I had a nickel for every time, well, John, you do know what's right from wrong. Yes, Dad, yes, I do. I'm so sorry. Okay, so, this is what it was. You know right from wrong. You know what to do. I can't be everywhere. Damn it, you got to do the right thing. Yes, Mother. Yes, Dad. Yes to the grandparents. Yes to the aunts and uncles. Yes to your teachers. Yes to the guidance counselor. Yes to the teacher's aides. Yes to people in authority. You're right. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I will effort on doing the right thing. And I expect you, whether I said it or not, and I expect you to call me on it when I don't. Now, we get told from the so-called experts, the wizards of smart, about, here we go again, what you need to do. And again, that's when you lose me. But this is what we get. So as a result, we've gotten snarkier. We've gotten more sarcastic. We've got more bite on us. We've got more of an edge about us anymore. Almost all of us. You know it, I know it, everybody worth their salt knows it, okay? We're less aware of stuff. It's more, I, me, my, screw you, I've got mine, okay? We're less team-oriented too. Plus, the younger folks, the kids, they pick up on this from the adults, from one thing to another, from how they act, interact, react, and counteract with their, their adult peers, down to how they talk, the words they use, and so forth. I've got a friend of mine teaches school outside of a major city in the Midwest. Okay, and she's just miles away from there, at Detroit. Okay, she's west of Detroit in the suburbs, and in her district, the fourth graders. So what are you, 9 there, give or take, in fourth grade? They all got letters from school to school throughout the district because of language, because of gutter language, because of swearing, cussing, cursing. They all got letters sent home to have their families or their caretakers monitor this. And if they did, they would get some, I don't know, some stupid little party at the end of the period or something that, yay, you didn't swear so much. No, there's no party. Just don't freaking do it. It's as simple as that. I almost did, but I didn't. See what I did there? Okay. It's as simple as that. Really? No. It's don't do this or else there are consequences. Not counting to three and not being consequences. Oh no. But actually saying there is consequences. These are the consequences. Do it again and we're going to have them. Now, kids don't care. They just don't care. We got told to do the right thing. These kids, a lot of them don't want to because it's monkey see, monkey do. Lastly, I think, lastly, do not give up or give in relative to you, your individual goals, your dreams, your objectives and desires for what's in, versus what's been put in to your heart, into your gut, into your mind and soul. Back then, being your own person, being an individual, even a rugged individual, was seen as a trait of strength, of fortitude, internal fortitude. It's internal fortitude, not intestinal. Intestinal, that's gross. Okay? Internal, meaning within you. Internal fortitude. Proud to be an American. Proud Americanism. It's like them or not. Okay? It's John Wayne. It's Clint Eastwood. It's Ronald Reagan. People like that who were revered, who were respected, who were adulated, who were put into leadership, because you figure John Wayne, if memory serves, I believe he may have been a very instrumental person in the Screen Actors Guild. Clint Eastwood, he was a leader. He was the mayor of his hometown, Carmel, California. Ronald Reagan, he was president of the Screen Actors Guild. He was governor of California and two-time president of the United States 2 terms in a row. People like that were revered, respected, listened to, paid attention to, because you know what? It was, here it is again, the right thing to do. Okay? There are people who you just know, hey, that guy, he's doing it right. Or that gal, that woman, she's doing it right. I'm gonna pay attention to them. Yeah. Now, folks like that, they'd be reviled. They'd be absolutely crucified. If you're not going along, kowtowing to the current agenda, the ulterior motives, or whatever the current hot button issue might be, you're seen as inappropriate. You're offensive. We don't care for that. You're considered a bully. You're considered rude. You're considered inconsiderate. You're considered ignorant of those around you. Respectfully, I'm going to call BS on that one, loud and proud. I'll wear the badge if you need me to, okay? There's a fine line, folks. There really is, between being positively helpful for people, for a cause, an initiative, for something worthwhile, and being a spineless, whiny blooping, always going along to get along, following the crowd and the current thing so as to not tick people off kind of person. Nambly, pambly, mealy mouth, little a milk toast. MILQUE, by the way, milk toast. You know, basically, you're an adherent participant. Don't be an adherent participant. There's no need to always, if ever sometimes, adhere to the current nonsense that's floating around all haphazard like. Simply wanting to be acknowledged for your participation, that's a bunch of garbage as well. You know, everybody gets a trophy. No, they don't. I did not until I was worthy of one. And I was fine. I'm fine. Here too, doing what's in your heart, doing what's in your soul, in your gut, that's the ticket. That's exactly the ticket. Okay? Don't kowtow like so many do now. Be an individual. My mother used to always say, you need to be your own person. And she would bang that drum whenever she felt it was necessary. And it sunk in. There's a lot of things that she did that I didn't always disagree with. That's children and parents. That's life. But that's one thing, Mother, that's one thing you banged a drum on that I absolutely got. Colin Powell, remember him? Colin Powell said, being an effective leader means that you will tick people off. Well, welcome to it. So be it. And you know what? Like me, if you want, go ahead, bask in the resplendency of it, of quite possibly being looked down upon, so to speak, due to not just going along with the in crowd or the damned idiotic agenda du jour. Ugh. Here's a tip from your Uncle John once again. Always trust your inner self, your instincts, and your gut. You'll never be let down if you do. And as you do this, as we do this, I should say, because we should do this together. Again, you're there, I'm here, but quote unquote together. As we do these right, correct, exemplary things, things that people will recognize and acknowledge and, revere and respect, by continually pursuing our individual and collective forms of perfection, knowing that perfection does not exist in this life, but by relentlessly chasing after it, what we're going to do is achieve excellence. It's as simple as that. I can't say it enough. That's the constant concept around here, along with positivity, being upbeat, can do, and of good cheer. It's as simple as that. Yeah, I get a little animated on the nonsense because it's nonsense. Okay? But when it's all said and done, I'm positive, I'm upbeat, I'm can do, I'm of good cheer. I'm getting into things, it's leaning into it and making the most of it, squeezing the lemons and making lemonade, because sometimes you have to. It's the ticket, it's the way to be, it's the good and right thing to do. And it's highly worthwhile work and an ongoing effort to attain what? Our common ground. That's the theme, kids. That's why I've been doing what I've been doing for the last almost 6 months. Trust me here, folks. Take it to the bank. Do not doubt me. And as always and ever, by these things I stand. Hey, that's all of it, folks. For now, again, I'm taking a hiatus, okay? We'll be back at some point as we go forward. It might be in the summer, might be later this spring, could be later in the year. But you know what? I want to thank all of you for being a part of Common Ground with John Theillon. That's me, of course. Again, for taking what you can use off of my op-ed pieces, if you will, and just leave the rest. It's information. Do with it what you want. Do with it what's best for you. All right? So, along with the rest of the week, give yourself your best shot each and every day. Give it your best shot every time, every day, all the time, all day. Okay? Have a fantastic upcoming weekend. I believe Palm Sunday is this weekend, so if you celebrated the Christian faith, that's a big one, as is Easter coming up very shortly too. Passover's just around the way. I mean, there's so many things. Spring is here. Spring is here. I'm seeing the blossoms on the trees as I'm going through the neighborhood. It'll soon be Mother's Day and Memorial Day and Father's Day and July 4th, and summertime and the living hopefully is easy for you. Okay? Have a fantastic time. Enjoy. Have fun. Do good things. I'm going to slide on out of here, like I do. But I'll be back and I'll let you know. Watch my Facebook page, okay? John Theillon, or John Common Ground Theillon. I always forget about that one. Thank you, folks, for your time. This time, every time, all the time, until next time. This has been Common Ground with John Theillon. Again, that's me. Love you all. I'll miss you, but I'll be back. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. So long.